Hello and welcome to a new week of meals. I am starting off with some baked chicken. These are just chicken thighs that I've defrosted ahead of time. I'm going to season them very simply with salt and pepper as I normally do. And usually I would broil this, stick this in the broiler on a broiling pan, but in lieu of that I'm actually going to bake them today, and I think they turned out just fine. The skin was nice and crispy, and they were cooked really well. So I again am going to season these and put them into the oven to bake until they are done. At the last minute, I decided to add some garlic powder, so I'm just doing that to one side. While the chicken is baking, I am taking some bagged kale. This is bagged pre-washed kale that's been chopped up already. I'm removing the very thick stems and I'm just going to leave the more tender leaves here. So I'm just going to fill this up, and then I'm going to add some liquid to sort of braise this a little bit, add some condensation in here so that it wilts down a little bit more, and I'm just going to use some water with a little bit of Knorr chicken flavored bouillon. So I probably added about a half cup or so, again just to help this cook down a little bit, and then I'm going to season this with some onion powder, some garlic powder, salt and pepper, and then that's going to cook down until it's more or less to my liking. Now you can obviously saute this with some fresh garlic and onion, but I was just wanting this to be really quick, so I used the powders. Once this has had a chance to cook down a little bit, I'm adding a very teeny tiny pinch of nutmeg. I find that nutmeg always complements things like spinach and these leafy greens, so that's what I've added here. I'm going to go a creamed kale route, so I'm going to add some crema. This is Mexican crema that I'm adding here. You can use like creme fraiche, you can add some milk to it, anything to kind of make it a little bit more like heavy cream I think actually would be better, but I have the crema and it worked really well because it was sort of a nice thick creamy consistency. So I'm just going to add this to the kale and I'm going to give it a taste to see how I like it, and then I will add a little bit more salt and adjust the seasonings here. Last step, I am adding some shredded Asiago cheese. I'm going to let that melt up and I'm going to mix that together with the rest of the ingredients here, and this is pretty much ready to go. So yummy. It was really nice and creamy. And there's our finished dinner. The baked chicken, you can see the skin got nice and crispy, nice and brown, and my creamed kale. And that was our dinner for the first night of the week. Next night, we did burritos and burrito bowls, so you can just see all the different ingredients. I have a little bar set up here, so everybody just did what they wanted to. The guys had burritos, and I had a bowl, which I'm just showing you here, but that was our dinner for the next night of the week. Next up, I did a very simple sort of Chinese chicken salad, if you will. I'm just seasoning some chicken tenderloin. These were pre-frozen, so I defrosted them and I'm just seasoning them here. I'm going to brown these in a skillet, and when those are nice and done, I'm going to remove them and then just put everything together. Got the skillet nice and hot, and I'm just adding some extra virgin olive oil. All of the chicken tenderloin is going to go in here. Again, just going to brown them on both sides until they are nice and browned and cooked through, but not too done because I don't want them to be dry. These were nice and tender and juicy and moist. So just going to do that here, and then our salad will be almost ready to go. Seasoning the second side here from above since it was kind of spattering and I didn't want to get burned by the oil, but just some salt and pepper on the second side. I could tell that some of the pieces were almost ready, so like the thinner pieces of tenderloin, I just flip to make sure that I cook both sides, and then I will remove those shortly. For the very thick slices, I'm not a super good gauge at when something is done. Something like chicken, you definitely don't want it to be raw on the inside. So I do take a knife a little bit later, and I don't show that in these clips. But for the really thick pieces, I do take a knife to the middle just to make sure it's cooked inside. And there you go, very simple Chinese chicken salad served on some coleslaw mix. I have some mandarin oranges here. We've got some sesame seeds. I served with this sesame dressing that I got from the Asian store. And you can also serve this with some fried wontons, would be really good. I didn't decide to do that. Green onions, maybe some almonds, but that was our dinner for the next night. Really, really yummy. Lastly, I am putting together this sort of hodgepodge of ingredients. I have some leftover chicken from the Chinese chicken salad the night before, some pasta here. This is going to just be like a creamy pesto pasta. So got some tomatoes, we have some cream cheese, there's some pesto in the refrigerator, and some crema I threw in there to kind of make it a little bit more creamy, but you'll see as I put this together how I do it. So I'm starting off with cooking and draining the pasta. I did leave some of the pasta water in there because I do want it to be a little bit saucy. I add some cut up cherry tomatoes here. I'm just going to mix that in. I have some frozen spinach leaves. Decided to put that in there just to add some greens and some, bulk it up a tiny bit. This does wilt down a lot, so add as much as you like. So I'm going to cook that down. I'm going to let a bit of the water evaporate, and in fact I decided there was still too much water in there, so I will take out about another quarter cup or so. Next up, I'm going to create the sauce here for the creamy pesto. I'm adding half a block of cream cheese. Actually, I think it was just shy of half a block. So I'm just going to break that up into little pieces, try to let it cook down a little bit into the sauce. In order to add to the volume of the sauce, I'm adding some, again, the Mexican crema that I have here. I'm going to add as much of that as I think it needs in order to make a nice creamy sauce, and we'll just let that cook down a little bit since I do still have a little bit of water at the bottom of this pan here. Here's that jarred pesto. Still have a lot of it in the refrigerator. We don't use a lot of pesto in our recipes when I do use the pesto, so I added a big glob of that into the pot, and that is just going to add to the sauce. Here's some of that leftover chicken and the chicken tenderloin from the night before when I made the Chinese chicken salad. So I have chopped some of that up, and I'm adding that in here. And we're just going to mix this all. This is kind of like a one pot thing that I'm just throwing together. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants, doing a little tasting here and there to see what the flavors are like. And there's no recipe for this. It's just kind of whatever I decided to throw in. As you can see, I'm adding a little bit more crema here. It needs a little bit more of a saucy, creamy component. And then I'm going to add additional seasonings. Looks like I have some onion powder here. I did not add fresh onions or garlic. I feel like I haven't been doing that lately. I think I've just been really lazy, so my go-to has just been using the onion powder and the garlic powder, which, there is nothing wrong with that in my book. Going in with some shredded mozzarella to help it just kind of thicken up a little bit, become a little bit more creamy. And I think we are almost done with this. I'm just going to let that simmer for a little bit to thicken up, a little bit of the water evaporate a little bit more, let the cheese melt and everything come together. And there you have it, again with that shredded Asiago cheese up top. Very, very yummy. It tasted so good. That pesto sauce, nice and creamy with the crema and the cream cheese. Really easy recipes this week. As I do normally, I think I like to keep things pretty simple in our kitchen. So thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you guys enjoyed the recipes and our meals that we shared with you today. I will see you in the next video. Take care until then.